Thank you very much indeed. Hello. Can you hear me all right? Is this thing on? Is it okay? Oh, great. Hello. So thanks very much. I'm going to try and be as quick as I can. I know we're running a tiny bit behind. I'm feeling very kind of on the edge today because I'm going to be using my iPad to deliver a presentation for the first time ever, so it could go completely and horribly wrong. Everything that I'm going to show you today I could equally do from my iPhone, but as far as driving an external screen, then it has to be the iPad, so hence we're doing it on the iPad. But any iOS device would be fine for me to use as a completely blind user. Now, I'm sure many of you know that the accessibility features that are built into iOS, there's obviously the high vis, the white text on a black background, the larger text that is reflected on the home screens, in mail, contacts, messages, etc., etc. The zoom magnification software, which I'd love to be able to show you, but it's far too visual. But yes, you can zoom in huge amounts so that you can see even the smallest thing. So someone with very limited vision can very easily use iOS devices. And of course, there's Voiceover, which is what I rely on to understand everything that's going on. And all of this is in there already. It's all free. It's all there in the shop. You can just triple tap the home button if it's been set up that way. And I believe in iOS 5, by default, it will be set up so that anyone can triple tap the home button to bring either VoiceOver or Zoom in automatically. It'll ask you which one you want to bring in the first time you do it. And the beauty of that is that there is absolutely no reason at all why people who are creating iOS apps can't check for accessibility with VoiceOver, because it's already there. And even better, iOS, when you're developing iOS apps, they will be accessible by default. You don't have to do anything at all as long as you use standard controls. If you want to go non-standard, you can make that totally accessible as well. And if you go to the Apple Accessibility Developer blog, I'll tweet a URL for that later on, along with tweeting the URLs of all the stuff that I'm going to show you today. So it's an absolute dream. Just to kind of give you the background from a disability point of view, I'll start with vision, blindness, for example, and then I'll move on to show a couple of demos of other disabilities that are really benefiting from the accessibility within iOS devices as well. So to set the scene, until very recently, in fact, until iOS 3 came out with VoiceOver built in, for a blind user, you really had to go with specialist devices. So for a note taker, which would be the equivalent of a PDA, for example, you would have to spend several £1,000s for a specialist note taker with either QWERTY or a Braille keyboard, and the speech output, obviously, as well. And forget GPS, forget internet access, all those sort of things. This was really, really basic. They were DOS-based until, well into the early noughties, they were DOS-based. And for a GPS solution, for example, until very recently, until iOS came along, to have a speaking GPS device, it was about £750, that sort of thing. But because of the extensibility of iOS, I can use a Bluetooth external keyboard, for example. I can use a Bluetooth external Braille display.
Screen dim.
I can also...
Page 1 of 3. Page 1 of 3.
Thank you very much. So I can add on lots of things, and we'll look at a quick video later on about someone who's just using a puff and suck tube to be able to control their Android device, but you can do that in iOS as well. But I didn't want to make it specifically iOS today. I will mention that these things are available to a lesser extent, perhaps, on other smartphone or mobile platforms as well. So without any further ado, let's just have a quick look at how I would use an iOS device. So I'm going to do a 3-finger triple tap here.
Screen curtain on.
And now I've turned on the screen curtain and the screen's gone off, right? So I wouldn't use the screen on because, I'd rather have 20 hours of battery life than 10 hours. But I'll put the screen back on just for your benefit.
Screen curtain off.
And I'm using this speech output here. I prefer the Australian lady.
iPod. Double tap.
And so here we are in the dock at the moment. If I just flick to the left.
Mail, 13 new items.
Mail, 13 new items, double tap to open. Now, you would just touch something on the screen and it would activate it. For me, I can roam my finger around the screen and it would just speak that item, and then I can double tap to confirm it. So if I wanted to go into mail, for example.
Mail, inbox, 13. Mailboxes, back button.
So it said there's 13 unread items in here. I can just roam my finger down the left.
Unread. Viphone at unread. Viphone at Google Graphs.
So I was just running my finger down there.
Viphone.
I'll just shut it up there. I was just running my finger down the left, and on the right-hand side.
One update. Bullet. List recorder feature request. Improvements in page link.
Important feature requests, etc. So I can read down the left quite happily. I can flick left and right to go through every element on the page. So that's totally accessible. As I said before, everything that comes in iOS is totally accessible. Even Google Maps, I was using it earlier to, in the directions kind of mode, to get a list of directions from Marylebone to here. Well, in fact, I was interested in the travel time because my train was half an hour late, so I was desperately hoping that it wasn't going to take too long to get here by cab. So I can even use Google Maps, for example. The reason why I didn't start with an opening slide is because one of the things that doesn't come, iWorks, doesn't come as standard. Keynote isn't accessible, so I'm just going to try and work out how I can have an opening slide on an iOS device. But anyway, so you can use absolutely everything on the device as standard. I wanted to show you a few apps that were specifically for the VI community. So I've mentioned that you can just create standard interface, standard UI, standard controls, and everything will be fine. Please do test with Voiceover, though, just to make double sure. But you might also want to consider creating some apps for the VI community, for example, because this is such a powerful device. For example, you might think, well, how would a blind person use the camera, or why would a blind person use a camera on an iOS device? Well, if I go
photography folder, double tap page 2 of 3.
Page 2.
Games folder. Double tap mail. Display page quizzes. VI games folder. VI folder.
If I go into
Open
VI.
Folder. VI. VizWiz.
So here's an app called VizWiz. Portrait.
VizWiz. Take a photo. Use the camera button to take a new photo.
Okay, it's in portrait here, so I'll okay. So it said use the camera to take a photo. Now, a blind person would really, really benefit from having a spare pair of eyes around. They're not always available. So imagine if you could have an app that you could take a photo of absolutely anything and it would crowdsource the answer for you. And you could even record a verbal message so that you could say what it was. So I'm going to, okay, let's take a picture of you guys.
Camera button. Record a question. Use the record button to record a new question.
Now, I don't know how light it is in here, but we'll see. We'll see if the person at the other end of this crowd-sourced app can make head or tail of it.
Button. Record a question.
So,
use the record button to record a new question.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the speech off to record a question because otherwise it might interfere with...
Speech off.
Okay, what shall I say? What shall I say? Please tell me how many people are in the audience. Thank you. They'll have to make a guesstimate, but...
Speech on.
Okay, so what's it saying?
Back button.
Next.
Record a question. Back button. Record button.
Oh.
Start and stop recording a question.
Sorry. Okay, here's the record button. Sorry. Please tell me how many people are in the audience. Thank you.
Select sources and send.
Okay, select sources.
Web workers. Switch button on.
Web
Double
workers.
tap to toggle setting.
So it said web workers, switch button on, double tap to toggle setting. So in this case, it tells me it's a toggle thing. I'll just do web workers.
IQ engines, switch button off.
I won't do
double
IQ
tap
engines.
To toggle setting.
I've got a feeling that unless someone's wearing a stripy shirt, I'm not going to get anything back from these other sources about a barcode or a QR code.
Email, select an email address. Text.
I could send it as an email to someone else and say, please help.
Twitter, switch button
do it
off.
on Twitter.
Back button, send button.
Let's
Twitter,
send that.
Switch button off.
Oh.
Back button, send button. Please wait while your question is sent.
Okay. So while that's sending, it might take 20, 30 seconds.
New answers. View new answers as they arrive.
So you shout when... It might echo it back, but you tell me if an answer pops up. While we're talking about that, I'd love to be able to show you some GPS-type devices, applications, but unfortunately inside the building here, they're not going to be very exciting. But there's a couple of free GPS solutions like Scobbler, which I think is going to be renamed soon to something a little bit more exciting, but completely free, turn-by-turn, spoken navigation solution, very accessible. There's also one called Ariadne GPS, which is meant for visually impaired people. And on that, once you've put in the route and it shows you the route on the screen, you can actually trace your finger around the screen and it will beep as long as you're tracing a road. As soon as you go off the road, it'll stop. So you can actually feel your neighborhood with the touch screen. So things like that are hugely powerful. And so that's really good. There's another one called Sonic Navigator, which as you walk a route, maybe through a park or somewhere like that where a GPS is, of no use whatsoever, it drops virtual breadcrumbs as you go. So it basically traces a route for you that you can then retrace your steps with by doing the old tricorder thing where it makes noises, and when you're pointing in the right direction, it gives you a certain tone. So you can basically retrace your steps. And so there are so many apps like that that have been created using the power of iOS devices, and they're free. They're all free, or pence, So the days of absolutely breaking the bank are long gone.
View answers. View new answers as they arrive.
Okay, there are no web workers available at the moment. Maybe we'll come back to that one.
View answers. View new answers as they arrive.
That's a shame. We are definitely online here, so okay. I wonder if it'll do it in the background. We'll come back to that one. But have a look, VisWiz, it's free in the App Store.
Home, landscape, VisWiz, light detector, double tap to open.
Another one, if you do want to think about what could be useful for the disabled community, and hopefully you'll get some ideas from here. Obviously these ones already exist, but maybe you could do them even better. This one is the simplest UI of any single application in the entire universe. I'll just show you how this works. So basically,
portrait, light detector.
It's got no UI whatsoever, it's just the camera. And the way that it works is it gives you a different tone. So I've covered over the camera now. So now that's the lowest tone, there's no light whatsoever. If you take it off, depending on how much light it's detecting, that goes up. Now what could that be of use for someone with a vision impairment? So that's it, that's the whole app. And I'll just get rid of that. How could that be of use? Well, it's hugely useful actually. To be able to see where a window is, or to be able to navigate to a door which is open and that's where the light's coming from, is very, very useful. I use it for something like knowing when the oven has gone up to temperature. There's no such thing as a talking oven out there. There's talking microwaves, talking scales, everything else talks, but not talking ovens, unfortunately. So you put a little dot on your turnaround dial so that you know when it gets to 180 or something, but you can't tell when the oven's up to temperature unless you use an app like this, which when the light goes off, the tone changes. So that's really useful. So things like this, with a bit of imagination.
Home button to the left. VisWiz. Light detect color reader. Double tap to open.
There's another one here called Color Reader, which literally just, whatever you point it at, it tells you what the color is of the thing. So that's for choosing clothes and paint and whatever.
Vision sieve. Double tap to open.
Here's another very straightforward one.
Portrait. Vision sieve. Common vision. Macular degeneration. Diabetic retinopathy.
Okay, diabetic retinopathy is probably the most common vision impairment. So let's see what people with...
Landscape. Home button to the left.
I don't know if you can see this, but is it all kind of blotchy and...
Portrait.
Can people see that? Yeah? Okay, so this is what it looks like if you've got diabetic retinopathy. And that's another free app. You can get all these from the store.
Home button to the left.
I can tweet all these afterwards with the #FOA tag. So I just wanted to give you a flavour of what some of these apps are like, and now we'll round off with just a couple of videos of some other things that iOS devices and Android devices are being used for.
Closing VI folder. Quizzes folder. Page 2 of 3. Games folder. Double tap to open. Page 1 of 3. Photography folder. Contact social reference nav folder. Books radio video 1 new item. Opening video folder. Flex player. Flex player edit button.
Okay.
Edit my video. Android accessibility features. ASL iPhone users.
Here's a quick video that someone took in an Apple store when he saw two deaf ladies using FaceTime to sign to each other. It's only about 20 seconds long, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of how blown away he was.
Done button.
Very easily with the iPhone 4, they're able to talk to each other. Now, if that's not awesome, I don't know what is.
So,
edit button.
Even less than 20 seconds.
My videos.
So, hopefully that gave you a really good idea. People are using FaceTime a lot. I use Skype a lot. You might think that, why would a blind chap use video Skype? Well, I have to do a lot of meetings and people like to see me. Don't know why, but anyway, even though I can't see them, we would do a video Skype, and yeah, that's really handy. And obviously Skype works over 3G, unlike FaceTime.
Android ASL iPhone users. Berkeley Bionics Alex Exoskeleton 01. Daytona Blind Driver Edwin Demo. Big iOS announcement yesterday, and the Siri Assistant was obviously something that a lot of people are kind of talking about. Going to Android for a second, Android accessibility is very patchy, certainly unlike iOS. Not everything
in a standard build of Android will speak or is accessible, etc. You tend to have to live in some, like in the main menus, and you have to have a special speaking email app and that sort of thing. But here's a self-voicing app called Edwin that has been around for about a year now, which is spookily like the Siri assistant.
Done. Button.
It's just movie theater.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear this, sorry. Can we crank that up a bit? He asked where the nearest movie theatre was.
Define the word banana.
Can you put it up? Can our sound guys put that up anymore? Sorry.
Spell the word xylophone.
Is that Max? Spell the word xylophone, spelling out the word xylophone.
Translate, where can I buy a vegetarian monkey, to French.
So this is available on Android. It's called Edwin. Just one more.
Map the closest donut shop.
And you get a map. Okay, so...
Edit button.
Okay, I'll turn that down a bit. Sorry about the volume on that one.
Edit button. My videos.
And
Working together _ people. Tekla _ wireless switch access to Android.
here is a chap in a wheelchair, and he's using this Tekla API for accessing the on-screen keyboard and all the menus, in fact all the functionality of his Android phone. He can even drive his wheelchair from his sip and puff tube.
Done. Button.
I think I'll stop it there. Ooh.
12:04. Status bar.
I'd like to stop it there.
01. Done. Button.
Ooh.
Done.
Okay. Oh.
Zero 01. 17. 64%. Done. Button. Done.
We might have to get...
Done. Button. Edit button.
Okay. And I'll just show you one last one,
Edit button.
which is...
Edit Google Road testing driverless car. Edwin demo.
GHI.
07 59 0 Proloquo2go Demo.
Using an iPad with some software. This isn't free, this software. For whatever reason, this actually costs $199 or pounds. No, £129. Maybe the reason being because the hardware device, Proloquo, is £2,000. It's an AAC device, which is for people that can't speak. It very quickly helps them build up sentences, phrases, and have them spoken out. So let's have a quick...
Edit button.
Oh, go on.
Edit button. My videos. Android AS.
Oh,
Berkeley
sorry.
Bionics Alex Edit. My video. And A. Date. Edwin Demo. Google Road. 07 01 00 Proloquo2go Demo.
Hello.
Done. Button.
First of all, pronounce this for me.
Sure, it's called Proloquo2go. It's
Okay.
Latin for speak out loud.
I feel excited.
And tell me, what does this do? Where did the idea come from?
Proloquo2go is an iPhone app, and it helps people who have difficulty speaking. It's children with autism, individuals with Down syndrome, adults with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease.
Let's do something fun. Watch TV and movies, TV news.
You can press pictures and words on the iPhone, the iPad here, and it'll speak out loud for them. So I can show you, I can just tap a word.
Hi, how are you?
And then it'll speak out loud with high quality text to speech.
Before, what would those, people who had difficulty speaking, what kind of programs were out there available for them?
There's a number of companies who have made this technology for many years. But the issue is that the systems typically cost about $7,000 funded by Medicare and Medicaid.
Whoa.
Playback forward, button, playback pause, playback rewind, 0, 45%, 0, done, button, done.
It can get down to about under 1,000.
Okay.
Video.
So hopefully that's given you a flavor of the sort of potential that these iOS devices offer, and hopefully some encouragement that making accessible apps for the iPhone is relatively straightforward. There are people doing it all the time, and if you think about a niche that might be available for a particular disability, then you might be onto something which would be welcomed with open arms by the different people with the different impairment categories. When it comes to websites, obviously all the accessibility requirements, considerations still count, whether you're using VoiceOver on an iPad or an iPhone, as if you're using JAWS or Window Eyes in Windows, for example, or VoiceOver on the Mac. It's very easy to create HTML5 apps, for example, have them running in the browser, or wrap them in an Objective-C wrapper, for example, and make them available as a standalone iPhone app. And all of those will be accessible as well, obviously assuming that you consider the mobile best practice guidelines and standard sort of web accessibility best practice guidelines. So my Twitter name is USA, which stands for Usability and Accessibility, the number 2 day, USA Today, and I will tweet with the hash FOA all the stuff that I've covered a little bit later on, probably just after lunch, so if people want to grab those URLs, then please do so. Thank you very much.